Good afternoon, humans. Tony and Allison here with BlueLion, here with your HR question of the week. So this week's question, yes,
Drum roll.
very common. What's the difference between an independent contractor and a W-2 employee?
First off, the word employee.
Yeah, big one, number one.
A lot of times we have people come to us saying, oh, I have an employee, when really they're an independent contractor and they're being paid as an independent contractor. So don't ever use the word employee unless they really are an employee.
Right. And sometimes we have people come and they're paying an independent contractor who is absolutely an employee. Very risky this way, to be
So
quite
how do I
honest.
know?
Yes. So the good news is this. The Department of Labor and the IRS both have tests, questionnaires essentially, to help you define which is which. And that is because those are the two main companies, right? Organizations, government, whatever you want to call them, who will come after you if you classify somebody wrong. So they are the two that have cheers for them for once. They're one of the two that actually have built out a questionnaire that says, if all of this is accurate, they fall into category A as a W-2 employee or category B as a 1099 contractor. But there's some pretty big significant differences there, right?
Yeah, so I think one thing that's super important to also point out, you cannot get in trouble for having someone be a W-2 employee that could have been an independent contractor.
Absolutely correct.
So there's no fines associated. You're never going to have anyone come at you saying, oh, they could have been an independent contractor. The only time you run any type of level of risk is having an independent contractor that in fact should have been a W-2 employee. So if you're nervous or super concerned, number one, reach out to organizations like BlueLion. We can definitely run an audit for you. We can have those conversations. But when in doubt, W-2.
Yeah, absolutely. And the main reason of that is because of pay, right? So when IRS and the Department of Labor are looking at how you're classifying an employee, when you have a W-2 employee, there's a lot of benefits there, right? Because when I'm paying you through payroll, I'm withholding taxes, I'm paying Social Security, I'm paying Medicare, I'm paying federal income tax, unemployment, all of these things. Workman's comp to cover you and your risk, right? You get hurt, I've got you covered on workers' comp. If something happens on unemployment, you get to apply. Maybe not get it, but you get to apply. So all of these things are protections for the employee, which is good, and a protection to the employer. When you're an independent contractor, all of that sits on the contractor. So you don't pay workers' comp for an independent contractor. You don't pay any level of taxes. You 1099 them at the end of the year. And they are responsible 100% of all the taxes that are required. So that's a huge difference between the two to start. But a good thing to do is collect some paperwork to show that you've done your due diligence.
Yes.
When you're having an independent contractor. And some of those documents are pretty simple to collect, right?
Yeah, so it'd be if they have their own insurance, if they have their own employees, making sure they have workman's comp coverage. We find that a lot in the trades, subcontractors on job sites, making sure they're all insured and everything like that. Really crossing those T's and dotting those I's.
Yeah.
But again, when in doubt, run those two tests. There is two, one at the Department of Labor and one at the IRS. A lot of it has to go around control. Who has control over the work? Whose supplies are being used? So are you providing systems and softwares and computers and ladders and paintbrushes? Or is the independent contractor providing them? Who makes business decisions? Are they able to make certain decisions? So there's definitely a whole work through on whether they are or not. There's absolutely positions and professions and things out there that would be hands down classified independent contractors. All too often we do find that independent contractors are being misclassified. There's also regulations at each state, so make sure whatever state you're operating in, you're also looking to see if there's any state level classifications for independent contractors. Some states are more strict than the government.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest risk here by misclassifying them, some people think, what's the worst thing that could happen to me, right? So the Department of Labor comes or the IRS comes, it's money. It's going to be money. So what's going to happen is you're going to owe back owed wages. They're going to do math on that. If there was an employee that maybe was a contractor that should have been an employee, not just an employee, but a non-exempt employee, did they work overtime? How do they know? The things that you think the government's not going to find out, they will find out. They'll figure it out. They track based on trend. And they'll slam you with those fees. They'll say you owe back owed wages on taxes. They'll go back however many years that they can track the math for. They're going to come back and say workers' comp should have been paid for these people, so now you owe workers' comp fees. They're going to tell you there's a fine or a penalty associated, so sometimes there's additional cost on top of that. And sometimes, even if you're not necessarily worried about the compensation piece, usually things like this end up in the news. So then it's your brand and your company name that's scattered across social media because you misclassified, and now you all these wages back owed, and now you have to try and do damage control for your reputation. So it's not always easier just because you don't have to pay taxes or benefits. Sometimes it's a really, really big risk for your business overall.
Yeah. Another huge red flag we always tell clients is if you're having somebody that's a 1099 for some things and a W-2 for other, that gets very, very muddy. Definitely want to make sure you're doing things right. There's very minute times that would be applicable. But again, in the end, go on to Department of Labor and the other websites, look up those tests, and if you have any questions or any concerns, do not hesitate to reach out. This is definitely something that we can also run an audit on for you.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so your friends can be as smart as you.